April 2019 paper B exam. It's about they gave a graph and they gave a very short paragraph that went with the graph, and they had 4 questions following this. What are they? So let's just look at the graph first. So there is a graph here. In fact, it has 1, 2, 3 different curves, and you have cumulative probability of being abstinent in the y-axis. So what is the chance that you are remaining abstinent? Abstinent from what? Remaining abstinent from alcohol, because you're using disulfiram here, so it's very likely how long you stay clean of drinking alcohol. That's plotted on y-axis. The probability of staying clean is plotted on y-axis. And how long you survive from a relapse, that's plotted on the x-axis. So can you see that on the x-axis? Okay, so now we have 3 graphs. So we have a graph that says we have 3 curves. One curve is 1 milligrams of disulfiram. The other is 250 milligram of disulfiram. And then we have no disulfiram graph, so curve. So we have 3 curves. Probability of surviving relapse is plotted against the time it takes to remain abstinent, the time that you remain abstinent from alcohol use. So let's read the text. In a randomized controlled blinded study, so this is an RCT, 3 groups were evaluated, so 3-arm, parallel RCT with 3 arms for the benefits of using disulfiram. One group received disulfiram 250 milligrams, so that's an active dose. The other group received disulfiram 1 milligram as a control for the threat of the disulfiram ethanol reaction, while the third received only counseling as a no disulfiram control group. So they had 3 groups, one with 250 milligram active intervention, other with 1 milligram just to act like a deterrent with because when you take 1 milligram disulfiram and drink alcohol, you will have some flush reaction. So that's 1 milligram used to just threaten people if they drink. So it's also a control, which is not in the same dose as the active intervention. So you can think of this as a low dose control. And then you have a placebo group, well, not placebo, treatment as usual group. They only receive counseling, they don't receive any disulfiram. So bi-monthly assessments were done for 1 year. Relative friend interviews and blood and urine ethanol analysis were used to corroborate patients' reports. There were no significant differences among the groups in time to first drink day. So there's no difference among the 3 groups as depicted in the attached figure. So they've shown 3 figures and they're telling us there's no difference. What kind of statistical test do you think they might have done to come up with this p-value? We just talked about it. So when you want to compare Kaplan-Meier curves, what options do you have statistically? What options? What tests can you do for Kaplan-Meier comparisons? I want to see some responses. Okay. What kind of statistical tests they're doing to come up with the p-value? What options do they have? It's okay to be wrong. Yeah. So they're doing some sort of statistical analysis and coming up with p-value. They're either doing a Cox regression analysis, or they're doing a log rank test. We don't know what they're doing, but they have a p-value there, and they're telling us that these 3 groups are not significantly different. Okay, so now let's read the questions. The term that best describes the above graph is, you're going to type the answers so I can see how much you're following. So what do you think is the name of this curve, name of this graph? It is called, it's a Kaplan-Meier curve. Good. It's called a survival curve. That's good. So the answer is E. Right, so where are we? The next question. So answer is E. It's a survival curve. It's a graph that shows survival experience of a group of patients. Proportion surviving an event of interest. What is the event of interest here? Relapse. So proportion surviving relapse, proportion of people who are abstinent are plotted on the y-axis. Right, next question. The probability of remaining abstinent up to 6 months after starting 250 milligram of disulfiram. So after starting 250 milligram, what is the chance of you remaining abstinent for 6 months? So let's look at the 250 milligram graph. Okay, which graph do we have to look at? The dark black line, that's the 250 milligram graph. And we have to look at 6 months. 6 months in days. How many days is 6 months? 180 days. So just look at 180 days and see where it touches. Touches around 40, okay? So I'm going to say 40% is the chance of you being abstinent after you start using 250 milligrams of disulfiram when you are an alcoholic person. So, oh, you're asking where is the graph? I'm showing the graph here. So this is the graph, okay? So the answer is 180 days. If you just touch that here, it comes to 40. Do you all follow me? So this is 40%. Answer is B. The probability of remaining abstinent is 40%. Well done. Okay, good, Wakas. So next question, 19. The probability of relapsing to alcoholism 1 year after starting 250 milligrams of disulfiram. So now they're asking you not the probability of abstinence, they're asking you probability of relapse. Okay, you got to be very careful how they word it. So this is probability of relapsing. How many days after you start treatment? 1 year. 1 year is around 365 days. Okay, so let's go back to the graph. Let's look at the 250 milligram plot, which is thick dark line, and we're going to look at 360 days. Okay, and 360 days equates to, can you see this point here I'm touching? Yeah, and that equates to around 20%. Okay, many observations to make here. One is the probability of being abstinent is 20%. So the probability of relapse would be in 1 year. The probability of relapse in 1 year will be yes, 80. So 80% of people are going to relapse. Okay, so that's important. So around 20 is wrong. The first choice, it's not correct. Around 20 is not the chance of relapse. 80% is the chance of relapse. The second choice is nearly the same as the 1 milligram group. Third choice is nearly the same as the no disulfiram group. Let's go back to the graph and see which one is true. So where is the no disulfiram group? That's the little small boxes here, the last line here. Yeah, in fact, the dark line and this little dash line, they blend, they merge. So we can say no disulfiram group and the 250 milligram group seem to have same effect after 1 year. Okay, so let's go back to the question and answer it. Nearly the same as the no disulfiram group is the right answer. So answer is C here. So, try and follow what I said. Draw a straight line, vertical line at the 360 days time point. This will touch the 20% mark, which means 80% is the probability of relapse. Okay. But this value is nearly the same for the no disulfiram group. So the answer is C. Okay. So let's move on to the next question, the last question in this Kaplan-Meier curve. The most reasonable conclusion that can be made from the study. Disulfiram 250 milligram is superior to placebo to promote abstinence only between 45th and 225th day of treatment. Look, they already have given us a p-value. There is no difference between these two. Throughout the 1 year period they observed, there's no difference. If you look at the graph, you might see there is a visual difference between this 45 and 225. There's some sort of separation, but is that separation significant? Okay, not so. So let's say you and your brother, your 5 centimeter, your brother is 5 centimeter taller than you. Is that a significant gain in height? I mean, is he going to play basketball better than you? Probably not. Okay, so there is something visible, but it is not significant. We know that because they are presenting the significance in the text. So that statement is not correct. Disulfiram 250 milligram promotes abstinence from alcohol at least for 1 year. Well, it does only as well as the control group. So I don't think this statement is right. Almost everybody is relapsing, and by 1 year, around 80% of people have relapsed, whether they take disulfiram or not. They have relapsed. So this is not a great, advertisement for disulfiram. C, disulfiram 250 milligram reduces the probability of being abstinent from alcohol in the first month. Well, a lot of people are relapsing in the first month. The probability of being abstinent, can you see the picture? The probability of being abstinent drastically drops from 100 to around 40 in the very first month. Okay, so I don't think the statement is right as well. So that's wrong. Disulfiram 250 milligram should be continued for more than 1 month to be beneficial. See, none of these kind of recommendations can be made on the basis of this observation. So, this is like some sort of clinical decision recommendation. You cannot make that based on this observation. In fact, whether you continue for 1 month or 2 months or 3 months or 1 year, it doesn't seem to matter for disulfiram. It's just performing very poorly in this particular study. There are no beneficial effects for disulfiram during the 1 year of use is probably the most reasonable conclusion you can come to. Okay, so the answer is E for this question. Right. So there are many other questions as well that came up, new questions, which I'm not going to do today. But as I go along, I will make sure that I take you through all these 36 new questions. And then eventually I will send you this videos as well, so you can revise them whenever you want. So the videos will have explanations as well as answers. Okay.